number 1, what are some short-term budget changes you'd like to make to see the school district budget be healthy for the long term?
Sure. So our primary agenda on the Redmond School Board is transparency. It's about making decisions that we can be accountable to and that we can share with the community and be proud that we've done what we said we would do. And we are currently in the process of making some cuts, largely due to unfunded obligations that have come from the state and through various different requirements. And so we're in the process of making cuts now. They're not desired cuts, they're necessary cuts, but they've largely come from attrition in not replacing people, as well as not filling open requisitions. So they are a net negative, but they haven't taken anybody's job away. So again, we're very eager to provide a good quality of life, and having a district where teachers and staff may be in fear of loss of their job doesn't provide that. So the cuts have been forced upon us. If we have further cuts required, for instance, if there continues to be conflict between the state and federal governments and we get a significant funding cut, and federal funds account for between 8 and 10% of our entire budget, so it would be catastrophic if we were to lose those funds. I would look first to recreational extracurricular activities. It's not something they are frankly dear to my heart. I would prefer not to, because they not only do they provide a quality of life for our students, but they also are a retention mechanism and help us to have exceptional graduation rates. But my cuts would have to come for extracurricular activities, beginning probably with sports. So it is my hope that we don't have to do that, and because we've been responsible with the funds we have, I don't foresee that we will need to make those decisions.
Okay. Question number 2, what proposed policies would you put in place to lessen digital distractions for students?
So very timely question. There is bills before the legislature now about removing digital aids removing smartphones and other smart technology from the classroom. The bill is bell to bell, meaning that it is the entire school day that they would be restricted from using their phones. I, for one, took the closest approach to what the legislature is looking at now. There are districts across the state that have taken different approaches. It can be only classroom time. It can be only school property. There are some, there's one in Lake Oswego has a policy in place that is bell to bell, all school property, school buses, school events. They do not permit smartphones and smart technology in those environments. So I was surprised to see that the bill from the state is pretty well aligned with what I would like to see, because there is very strong evidence that those smartphones create a distraction that inhibit the learning environment. If you read about it, you find that it's less digital or smartphone technology than it is social media. But how do you control one without the other? And so social media has inhibited a learning environment. It's created a distraction. It has inhibited social development for our kids. We're seeing more and more social needs, and I think that a lot of it grows from an overabundance and dependence on that smartphone technology. So I'm eager to see what the state comes up with, and will eagerly implement whatever it is that they choose.
Question number 3, what are some policies or initiatives that you'd like to put in place to ensure that every child in the district can shine?
Sure, I think that we need to provide opportunities for the kids that show autonomy, that show the ability to have agency, meaning we are allowed to make decisions and either suffer the consequences of bad decisions or reap the rewards of good decisions. By equipping kids with that kind of autonomy and encouraging them in the classroom, we have the things in place to make them successful. And I think that a pride in your community, pride in your classroom, pride in your school, pride alone doesn't do it, but if we can encourage the kids to be proud because of their academic success, I think it will very much allow them to shine.
Okay. And question 4, how would you utilize the public-private partnerships to enhance the school district?
So this is absolutely essential. Redmond School District has got, it really is a shining light of CTE, career technical education. And we have kids that have right now They're in the throes of final competitions and going to national level competitions, demonstrating the success of those programs. Those programs provide kids with career type skills without going to university if that's not their path to success. They choose to, it may create, give them opportunities in summer jobs, or maybe it will help to direct them in their higher education pursuits. But there is a desire from both the public and private sector to marry those two. And I think the big thing is getting the message out. I attended a career fair about a year ago that was held at the fairgrounds, and it was largely CTE type, career oriented. And I was shocked at the desire from the schools to have this connection with the community, and the desire from the community, largely a lot of it was trades unions that are very eager to offer these things to our students. And I think what we're lacking is the coordinator, if you will. So I think that it would be worthwhile to have a coordinating position in the district that really, perhaps was a full-time job, because we need to make those introductions. We need to have somebody that actually makes the physical introductions between the students and the opportunities so that they make use of them. It's like, when we were kids, people would talk about all these opportunities for scholarships for you to go to school, but you needed to know about them to apply for them. And that's kind of the position we're in with this. And I think we've got a great opportunity for public-private sector partnerships, and if we make the introductions, I think it will flourish.
All right, thank you. Mike is cold. So, question number 1. What are some short-term budget changes you'd like to make to see the school district budget be healthy for the long term?
Yeah, no specifics come to mind. I know there's a lot of budget discussions from the federal and state level, all the way trickling down to impacting us at the local level. Most of our budget does go to teacher salaries and benefits, and then the remainder goes to additional activities, sporting events, that kind of thing. So I would really need to dive into the specifics of that wiggle room that we have left to better gauge what our students are enjoying and appreciating and finding value in, and maybe seeing what isn't being utilized as much or isn't as popular to better gauge how we would maybe pivot. But again, there's so many budget talks currently being discussed right now that there's a lot of unknowns, so it's hard to address anything specifically. But I value creative thinking and strategizing, and I'm quick on my feet, so to speak, so it'd be nice to see what those numbers do look like so that we could pivot accordingly.
Okay. Question number 2. What proposed policies would you put in place to lessen digital distractions for students?
Yeah, so this one is being discussed at the state level, and cell phone usage and tech is definitely a hot topic with teachers and with families. How do we utilize this tool that is really helpful and accessible, but also very distracting and creating a lot of other issues between sleep deprivation, disruptions in the classroom, around the classroom. I think it's important to approach these transitions intentionally and communicate what is to be expected moving forward, but also anticipate that this is going to be a hard change for a lot of our kiddos and a lot of families too, especially when there's a lot of stressors out in the community with maybe folks getting access to the schools and families not being able to quickly communicate with their kiddos, right, if something were to occur. So all that to say, I love the idea of students being more active in their classrooms, or at least present, is what I'm trying to say. But it is not lost on me that this would be a challenging transition for students. So taking that time to validate their feelings and their concerns and their fears, but also giving them reasonings on why this is important and trying something that is hard. This isn't going to be the first challenge that they're going to have to overcome, but there are studies that prove that cell phones not in the classroom or not as accessible to students while they're learning and trying to engage with curriculum is better for student outcomes.
Okay. Question number 3.
Yeah.
What are some policies or initiatives that you'd like to put in place to ensure that every child in this district can shine?
Yeah. So Being a social worker who works with folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities, accessibility is really important to me, and I advocate that anywhere from language to physical infrastructure. So universal design of education is immensely important to me, and I'm going to be dropping that probably at any opportunity that I have to be able to discuss how we can make our education system more universally designed and accessible for all of our kiddos. Universal design does not mean that it's accessible for some and not for others. It means that it's universal in its accessibility, and that could be anywhere from the building to the curriculum to how students in sports are structured and that engagement. So those would be kind of some intentional long-term goals with a sprinkle of maybe some short-term goals, because it's a huge undertaking to try and do something like that. So slow, strategic, intentional changes towards that.
Okay. And question 4, how would you utilize public-private partnerships to enhance the school district?
Yes. So Central Oregon is a unique, kind of its own utopia place where folks want to come here, and a lot of folks with subject matter experts in their own fields, those who have PhDs, or just a lot of experience, want to live here in Central Oregon. And so I think there's a unique opportunity to be able to collaborate with those community members and get them more involved in our schools and get our students more involved in our community. I really believe in this full circle, like you give what you get, and I think there are folks, one, who have pursued higher education or have pursued opportunities via education that would want to give back to our kiddos, especially if it's something that they already study, love, and practice, or work in as a profession, to share with other like-minded kiddos that maybe didn't know that that was an option or that existed. And so I really think that there are a lot of opportunities that we just have not tapped into here with our Redmond School District that I would like to explore. So yeah, thank you.
Mike is cold. For 1 is, what are some short-term budget changes you would like to make to see the school district's budget be healthy for the long term?
Yeah, I think we're really looking at coming up on negotiations for our teachers and our classified staff. And so I think we need to be laser focused on what that's going to look like for our communities, what that budget compromise is going to be. So I think this is a very real question for us, is how can we accommodate the budget to fit for what is going to be likely raises for our teachers and classified staff. So I think that what we learned is that there are spaces where you can cut funding and there are spaces where you can't. And so one thing over this past budget cut is we learned is when we started to cut back on bright teachers who do our mental health and aides, that we saw more disruptors in the school or in the behavior in our schools. And so I think what we learned from that is that's not a place where we can cut. So we need to be looking at other spaces, spaces that can be duplicates of other efforts. But really, when we're looking at the budget changes, we need to focus on what is an absolute must and what is something that we can compromise on.
Okay. Question number 2, what proposed policies would you put in place to lessen digital distractions for students?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. We already have plenty of cell phone policies in our schools. The problem is that they don't seem to be implemented the same throughout every school. So I think first of all is having standardized policy that everyone follows regardless of the school. Now that might be different for high school than for middle school than for elementary school. But I think we need to be consistent in the policies that we do have. What seems to be the best thing that's going to work for us is just a no phones in the classroom during instruction time. So we have set hours where phones need to be put away. They're not out. There's no exceptions. There's no teachers who can do special exceptions in their class. It's just the policy throughout the district. When instruction is happening, phones are put away.
Okay. Question 3, what are some policies or initiatives that you'd like to put in place to ensure that every child in the district can shine?
Yeah, this is so important to me. I think number one, what we need to do is we need to recognize like which kids aren't having an opportunity to shine right now and which kids are. I feel really lucky in that I've been able to go to things like the poetry readings and the Battle of the Books, things that not a lot of people attend, but really those are those kids' opportunities where they're not getting to shine in other places. One place we do it excellent is our career and technical education programs. Some of those kids have welding competitions competitions, and they are doing amazing. Like they're competitive at the national level. They have the opportunity there. Maybe we could do a little bit better job of how do we highlight those and showcase them to the whole school so that it's as visible when a kid wins #1 at a welding competition as it is when we take #1 at a football game. I think those things are really important, is that we're recognizing different areas where kids are successful already, highlighting those, and then kids who aren't having an opportunity to shine yet, finding what it is that they're going to be really good at or excited about.
Okay. And question number 4, how would you utilize public-private partnerships to enhance the school district?
Yeah, I think we've started to do this in a really cool way with our CTE programs, and we've partnered with local businesses. They've done things like welded like fire pits, and they're selling those locally, and they have local businesses that are helping them design them and figure out how to actually create them in the welding class. They've worked with building like the tiny homes out at Oasis Village. They've worked on construction there. So those are some really great partnership opportunities that we already have in place. So I think looking to expand those in CTE, and we're doing a great job when it comes to traditional CTE, like construction, welding type of things, but maybe we're not doing as great when it comes to our other types of CTE, like at Ridgeview, where kids have opportunity to learn about broadcasting. So we could strengthen those partnerships with local TV, and news and media outlet sources. That would be a really great opportunity to do that. Same with our graphic design. Locally, there are a lot of really cool graphic design artists who work from home that we haven't really reached out to yet to try to build those partnerships. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. We've capitalized really well on one end, but on the other end, I think we could do a better job.
Okay. Thank you. The mic is cold.
Perfect.
What are some short-term budget changes you'd like to make to see the school district budget be healthy for the long term?
Yeah, we just have to make sure that we're really itemizing everything and being really detailed. As we continue to hash out curriculum decisions and all those different choices, we're going to see the things that float to the top as your core components, and we're going to see those things that are going to go the wayside. That'll particularly be dependent on where we land with this federal situation that's being worked out in the courts. So right now, I think we just have to focus on being true to what the voters entrusted to the board to do, and that's what they're working on right now.
Okay. Question 2. What proposed policies would you put in place to lessen digital distractions for students?
Yeah, I feel really strongly about this. Going through and talking to different people, administrators and teachers and people on the ground, they're seeing that the level of distraction with cell phones is really getting to be an issue. If you look at some of the bigger districts, LA County, Seattle, they've already put into place cell phone restrictions. And I think when you see students that are at school and they're at lunchtime and they're not talking and they're on their phones, that's not always the case, but it can be the case, especially for those outlier students. So I think we have to really get serious about following what the science is showing us with technology in the classroom.
Okay. Question number 3. What are some policies or initiatives that you'd like to put in place to ensure that every child in the district can shine?
Every child needs to be given a chance to shine, and I think this comes from the boots on the ground, the teachers that are in the trenches with the students. They are the ones that see this student can do this, and maybe no one's aware that they're able to do this. And these different programs we have the CTE program, we have so many different things, whether it be music, second language, arts, the drama, there's just so many components. And so as every student finds their niche, I think they're going to shine in every way that they can.
Okay. And question number 4. How would you utilize public-private partnerships to enhance the school district?
Yeah, that's a really good one. Students have to see real-world examples of people in the community working. So I think job shadowing is such a really important component, where they can go and see, what does a real day look like with an engineer? What does it look like to be a doctor? Whatever it is, they need to see the behind-the-scenes things. And I think as students see that those fundamental things that they're being taught in class are actually what adults are doing every single day, they're going to be encouraged, like, this is not just monotonous, get the grade, this is real-world things that you're accomplishing. You know, kids doing speech, they're learning how to be public speakers, they're learning how to do all these things. Performing, there are real-world performers that's their job. So as kids see this reality and they partner with the community and businesses and professionals, you're going to see kids shine in that department too.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Mike is cold.
Thank you, sir.
First question is, what are some of the short-term budget changes you would like to make in the school district budget to put on your glasses to create a healthy long-term budget?
Yeah, so part of what we do is oversee the budget for the district. And you have a balance of services that you need to provide, but you also have to do it as efficiently as possible. We have to maximize what we have to really go a very, very long way. And when things are federal, when things are, it's very, very tricky to budget for a school district, and we have to build it based off of numbers we don't know if we're going to get or not at the time that we start. So part of it is we've looked into various ways of saving money, various efficiencies, various grants that we can get. But right now we're going into a negotiating season for teachers. So there's a lot of different, not conflicting, but they all have thoughts, we'll say. And so our job is to help navigate through that, cut wherever we can without having it really impact critical spots. So what ends up happening is you end up with slightly larger class sizes, which we try to keep those low as possible, but you also end up personnel is 80+% of our budget. So we hate to have to go there, and so it's the dance of negotiating, trying to keep our wages competitive and take care of our teachers and our staff, but also keeping the service level as high as possible and class sizes as small as possible. So it's very tricky. Also, there's federal funding that is a lot. It can be $7 to $8 million for our district. So that is a big unknown right now. So we have kind of two different budgets, strategies, kind of if we get them, if we don't. Sometimes it's a hybrid of that. We don't know. So very interesting time to be talking finances for school districts.
All right, so question 2. What proposed policies would the board put in place to lessen digital distractions for students?
Oh, yeah, so we've been talking about cell phones, digital things like iPads. It's one of those things where they can either be a tool that's very effective and can really give you access to things that you never had before. It can also be really, really distracting and devastating to just teachers trying to do what they do. So there's legislation right now that is looking at what to do with the situation. We've been proactive on our side doing the research, looking at what other districts around the state and the nation have tried to do. Some big wins, some big losses, and everything in between. We surveyed our staff and our administrators, especially the ones that are going to have to actually put this theory into practice, trying to get teachers together to see what are they struggling with and what are the big impacts. Even things like watches and earbuds can be incredibly distracting. So there's a lot to be hashed out, and we've basically got the infrastructure ready, and then we're seeing where the legislation lands on it. And we actually had our superintendent do a full deep dive and give us a presentation because we didn't know if that was going to actually make it out of committee in the legislation. So because it is right now, we're kind of in a wait and see what they do before we get ahead or to the side or whatever. Then we'll see what resources are attached to that, because there's policies that get passed with no funding attached to them, which is always fun, and you still have to do them. So that's budgetary things too. Sometimes you have to take away just to make sure you're compliant with the law. So complicated like everything else.
Absolutely. All right, question 3. What are some policies or initiatives that you would like to put in place to ensure that every child in the district can shine?
Oh, wow. So that's a great question. And one of the big things that I'm so proud of in our district is our goal is to know every single kid by name and by ability and by need. And so we can help really strategize around not just a big, like a class or a group, and we have data on every little group and class because we're always trying to make sure nobody's falling through the cracks. So for us, our teachers actually have weekly meetings, and they'll discuss how they can actually support each individual child, which is just the neatest thing ever. And talk about wanting to show up to school when people know who you are and when they're on your team and when they're rooting for you, and they're making sure that you have everything that you need to succeed. That is everything. And so our district is pretty good size, but small enough, and we've really crafted out time specific for that. And there's groups, the teachers meeting groups, and they strategize, hey, this student is really struggling with this. How do we shore him up from all these different sides? It's really beautiful. And our district staff that is working on this, when they talk about it, they're so fired up and passionate. It's hard not to get emotional because you see somebody that is passionate about making sure our kids have what they need. And so that to me is the key to any student success, is that they know someone actually cares and somebody is going to miss them if they're not there. Huge stuff, and we are working really, really hard to make that the case in Redmond.
Okay. And final question. How would, if you would, how would you utilize public-private partnerships to enhance student education?
Yeah, that is kind of the secret sauce. Like any community, if you pulled out the volunteerism, the contributions from businesses and private donations and things, they would crumble.